Good morning, my wonderful people. I hope say this winter they catch you too much. They like say now very cold winter we will get this year, so make you hold on tight and dress up warm. Today now our second Saturday of the year, and I get some very interesting and important guests for now. One is multi-award-winning Nollywood producer, Mr. Marc Adebesin. Mr. Adebesin now one kind wizard, IT wizard, producer, director. I think he has done some script writing as well. Wonderful guy. He's going to join us. He's going to join us soon. When he join us, make una help us give him very good ovation and attention. Make una link up or join in and share. The first music where I will take start today, I will dedicate them to a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine. We just passed. My friend of mine died the first few days in January. In a very, very popular musician in the 80s and 90s for this country. He started a singing career for this country. His name na Edu Boy, Chinedu, Mr. Chinedu Nkwota. May your soul rest in peace. His name na Edu Boy, and he don't do a lot of. He did some music before he go back to Nigeria and go do politics. I think at some point he was a special advisor to one of the governors. We love you, Edu Boy, but God loves you more. So our condolences to your entire family. And the kind hand with this 2021 take. The thing called they fear me, because they fear me well, because we don't know whether they follow the footsteps or footpath of his brother 2020. Now only God will save us. So a special dedication to Edu Boy. I will play this one called Guam Guam Guam. One of his very few hits that he made when he was alive. He did this one with Nkolo Teles. I don't know whether some of you remember Nkolo Teles. We did a lot of work with Mandy Brown's taxi driver in those days. So this one now, Guam Guam Guam. We will take this one start. As we take this one start now, I will go bring my guest. Yes, so that now the lovely voice of my dear friend that will depart this our world in the few days into this January. I think it's on the 4th of January. May his soul rest in peace. I remember one day where this guy he refused to come out and play. I had to get somebody to cover me in the Southeast London instead of to go and introduce him in North London before he came and play. Anyway, as I don't tell you today, now all about our special guest today. And as you can see, our special guest he does set well. This gentleman, now very, very talented Nigerian, a Nigerian way we deserve to just do twirly for. Now producer, award-winning, not be only award-winning, multi-award-winning producer. Now IT guru as well. Now director, and I know say all of now way be Nollywood fans, you know and well. Ladies and gentlemen, now my great pleasure today to present to honor our one and only Mr. Marc Adebesin. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can. Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you very much, my brother. Make you first of all say hello to our people. Make you greet them well. Make them know. Say now real you the yarn. This one no be photo fit or no be photo shoot.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
God bless you, sir. Yes. As we always do for this our special show, we always go back. We go back in time. We tell people, give them a little background, make them kuku know the superstar where they know. A lot of them know the superstar now. But before that time, how the things start, where they born you, any information where you feel disclosed about your background, the schools where you now go to. I know say you go to one stubborn school like that, where they say, we and them, St. Gregory's College and St. Phoebus, we know they meet face to face, and you say, I don't lick them out.
They are better than you.
They have a big mouth. So tell us a little bit about those days, early days, growing up days and stuff like that. All the pattern way you do that time. Make you tell us, my brother. God bless you.
Well, contrary to that, I was actually a very gentle person. I spent 2 years in Federal Government College Odobolu, and then I spent 4 years at St. Phoebus College. I was a boarding student. I went to Yewande Memorial School in Surulere. That's where I spent my formative years in primary school. During that time, I think Jack Onde declared, free education for primary school, and I think my dad took a stab at it for 1 year. And after that 1 year, it was nothing compared to the private school I was attending. And then he sent me back. So obviously, I tasted the hard part of life for a year. And then when I go into secondary school, I was able to mix with people from different backgrounds, different origin, because I attended the Federal Government College where people came from the South, the East, the North, and the interaction, back then the bubble was anything that wasn't from Lagos State was not normal in the grand scheme of things. I ended up in Yaba College of Tech studying mathematics and statistics. and I found myself here in the United Kingdom, where I studied my master's degree. I did business administration. I'm a service designer in the telecommunication and IT industry. That's what I do for my 9 to 5. And I picked up filmmaking 4 years ago as a producer and director, and I've really never looked back since. So I'm born to a Nigerian father and a German mother. My mom is in Dusseldorf in Germany, and my father is in Nigeria, Lagos State, to be precise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother. We really appreciate you. You don't try. You don't try well for the IT industry. Obviously, the time we're on a day school, we're on a day both primary and secondary school. Okay, we they do the usual things for Nigeria. So at what time did you decide it? Maybe make we not go to the film industry yet. Make we go to the IT business. At what time did you decide, say, oh boy, this IT thing switch, like this thing I want to do?
Well, I think IT was something that I picked up very naturally because I remembered I went to a computer course back in the days, and it was supposed to be a 3 months course. And at the end of the first month and third week, I had learned, the whole syllabus. And the instructor, the owner of the institution, offered me a job to start in my third month because even the lady that was teaching me back then, I think I was a bit more articulate in the way I passed my message across and the way I taught. So teaching was very, very natural to me. It's not something I struggle with. And he offered me a job, and I started, and I became an instructor in a computer college in Ogba, to be precise. And then I moved on to become a computer instructor in Ivy College on Allen Avenue. I think I ended my career in Nigeria in Zenith Bank in the IT department, and I came to UK. I've worked for a couple of telecom and IT companies here in UK, some of the biggest consulting and IT companies here in the United Kingdom. So that's really it about me and my career, to be honest.
Okay, so having done so much in the IT industry, this is a story of very total contrast, really. The last person where you go expect will go there for IT and come switch to film production. Now, person where they IT oriented, but that they show us at times they change now, because the thing where they happen before we say anybody where those science fields and those IT fields, and they stick strictly to that field, especially our parents, they make sure say we stick to that. It be like somebody will do IT, we call it to be footballer. So at what point did the conversion begin to start, where you can't say, okay, you know what, I feel do this thing, this they are Nollywood thing where they make noise.
Well, I wouldn't say I've switched, because I still work as a consultant till today. Nollywood is something I picked up as a passion. I've always looked upon myself as a very creative individual. But you also have to understand and appreciate the fact that filmmaking is a collaborative effort. And due to that fact, the people you work with, both your cast and your crew, they play a vital role to how you're perceived and how your final product would look like. So I have always appreciated people I've worked with, and I've always been very careful with people I pick to work with, because sometimes you end up with picking a wrong partner or wrong cast or wrong crew, and that person will just not be able to sail your ship or your boat in the direction in which you want the boat to sail. So IT is something I do on my 9 to 5. I'm exploring cybersecurity at the moment because now that everybody is now working from home, there's a new dynamics in the way cybersecurity will play a role in our daily lives all over the world, across the globe, because it's almost 1 year. I'll actually say it's actually a year now that the pandemic started, and you and I think the globe as a whole are beginning to look at things now as the new normal, going forward.
Thank you. Now you see, when you started playing around with this Nollywood thing,
Yeah.
what was your inspiration then? What actually attracted you to say, you know what, this thing? Was it the fact that Nollywood was struggling technologically in terms of production ability, or just because of your patriotism and say, you know what, this Nigerian thing is really beginning to gain ground. I want to play my role.
Well, it's two things. The first is Nollywood, in terms of skill set as a whole, when compared to Bollywood, Hollywood, and even what is being shot in South Korea. I would say, yeah, there's a bit of ground catching to do, but I think majority of that ground catching is not necessarily with the fact that we lack the skill set or any other thing. I think it's because we lack the financial capability. Because if, for example, you create a film today, you're very limited to the amount of places you can sell the film. If you pick up the route of not going into cinema, um, there's no guarantee that the film you have created will be bought by more than 5 people across the globe. You've got Iroko, you've got African Magic, you've got the likes of Ibaka, and you know, ask yourself, where else can you send it? There are very few VOD platforms like Netflix that would pay value for money. You could have um, a film buyer who would buy your film at pretty much the same price you paid your, or even less that the money you paid your lead actor, and they will want the license for that film for 2 years. So you now start to ask yourself, is it really financially viable? Is it something that you can actually earn a living from? It's quite tough, as an industry, in terms of trying to make money out of it. If you look at majority of the films that have been created in the last I wouldn't say 2 decades, you would find out that the highest grossing films are predominantly films that have comedy elements, you know, strictly comedy or rom-coms. Those are the kind of films that have made money. You've got the likes of Alakada or Morgetto, uh, Wedding Party. I mean, if you look at, I think the most serious film that has come out of Nollywood and has actually been a tremendous financial success has been King of Boys. I don't think there's any serious film without comedy that has that, and I think it's because the audience of Nollywood now are, they want to laugh, they want to have fun. You know, you wouldn't expect a typical Nigerian go and do a 9 to 5. It's 5 o'clock on a Friday, or you know, any given day. They want to start going to a cinema and wants to start cracking his brain. Okay, the girl in between Marc and DJ Jossy lad. Oh, is he gonna kill her? Is he gonna kill, you know, the guy, or is she gonna kill him? They don't want to think. I mean, in the Nigerian society at the moment, is too stressed out. They want to laugh. They want to have fun. They want to enjoy themselves. That's why you find out if a comedian like AY puts up a comedy show, you're most likely going to find out that the comedy show would easily get sold out. And if he does a film, he would have to spend millions on promotion to get the populace, the masses in Nigeria to come and watch it. It's a struggle at the moment. And I think we have roughly just over 35 cinemas in Nigeria at the moment, and it's growing by the year. It's a very encouraging industry. I think the lack of broadband um, in Nigeria has, at an affordable rate, has been a catalyst that has helped people go more to the cinema. If you look now, you find that there's a paradigm shift to to the fact that a lot of people are now watching films online, and Hollywood themselves, they've started launching, as of at the end of this month, they will start launching films on the same day that it's going to be launched in cinema. They're going to be launching those same films online, so that people who can afford to watch it at a premium price would get to watch it. So things are changing. We're beginning to accept the changes as they come. It's put a couple of spanners in our wheels, and I think the infrastructure in terms of broadband being readily available in Nigeria would help, would put more money into the industry, because that way people will be able to spend more at an affordable price to be able to watch our film. So it's a chicken and egg situation right now in Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was very, very, very educated. Now, make we go back to your project now. Which one be the first project where you first do in the Nollywood industry? Your very first project, albeit it doesn't have to be the first one where blow. Your first project, go where you first do. Okay, sorry, make I just quickly hail some people. They don't. Our people go vex if we don't hail them. Adeyinka Ilemobade, Alex Okudi, Bosu Johnson, and all of now where they watch, and they hail you, and my guest Marc Adebesin, they hail you as well. Yeah. So, which was the first project where you say, okay, this is not my first project, or which one was it out of the many, many projects where you don't do?
Well, the first film I wanted to do was a dance movie, and I had a colleague back then. I ran the project by him, and he looked at the script and he said, yeah, because he's got more experience than myself. Because I mean, it was my first year in the industry, and he had spent a decade in the industry at that time. And he advised, he said, let's do a short film rather than doing a feature film. So I took that advice, and we did a short film. And I looked at how the market responded to the acceptability of the film, and it was the whole end-to-end um, production process was something I learned at the end of that short film. That way, I was able to reduce the risks in terms of the financial burden. Um, and at the end of that, I decided it wasn't going to be viable for me to do a dance movie first, because if you do a dance movie, you need to have a separate budget strictly for paying the artists that would give us good songs to be able to use for that dance movie. And it's a film that I've put at the back burner for now. The title of that short film was Tied Up. It ended up it was nominated in quite a number of film festivals across the globe. It also won an award here in the United Kingdom. And I went to produce another film called Talking Dolls here in the United Kingdom, where I brought the likes of Daniel K. Daniel and Belinda Effer, Mofe Duncan from Nigeria, to participate in the film, because back then they had just been nominated and won AMVCA, both for the male and female category. So we brought them here to UK, and it was a film that was nominated for about 49 nominations, and I think 22 or 23 awards in total across the board, from best film of the year, best director, best producer of the year. So there were quite a number of accolades that we won for Talking Dolls, and I eventually partnered with Mofe Duncan to create another film called The Three Kings, which is now on Rock platform. I went ahead to shoot for the first time in Nigeria a film called The Alter Date that also won me Best Director. We won Best Producer as well here in UK. I think we got about 12 nominations here in the United Kingdom, and it was submitted in quite a number of festivals in across the globe, to be honest. And also that was widely accepted here as well, because we had a premiere here as well in the United Kingdom. It went on to cinema, and it made well over 10 million in Nigerian cinemas. Um, I after that went to Nigeria to go and shoot another film called Hustle, where we had the likes of Jim Ike, Bimbo Ademoye, Bolaji Ogumola, uh, Gabriel Afolayan, and Femi Branch in that one, and Wole Arole. We were supposed to have gone to the cinema last year, but unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we couldn't make cinemas last year, and no cinemas have started opening up in Nigeria, but because of the way the pandemic has affected us here in United Kingdom, I'm a bit skeptical about how. Because if I travel to Nigeria like I did last time, I ended up spending more than what I budgeted for. The test here in UK will cost you over £150, and if you get to Nigeria, you spend another 52,000 naira to do another test. So I'm calculating all that, and I'm thinking it's not going to be commercially viable for me to do a cinema release at the moment. So the last film I shot was also in Nigeria, and we shot this uh, in Nigeria during the same month. The NSAS protest um, was hot in Nigeria, and it was quite challenging, but we were able to get it done. We shot that with the likes of Zach, the great Zach Oji, Femi Branch. Um, we used Bolaji Ogumola, um, Ken Eriks, Deyemi Okolawon. So it's a film that we expect to hit the cinema before the end of this year. It's uh, it's a film I'm really looking forward to hit the cinema because it's one of those stories where the the producer thought about the quality of what she wants the overall film to look like. She wanted a film where nothing was holding the creativity of how the story was told. Because 90% of the film we shoot in Hollywood, we have to always think about first the budget, because when a scriptwriter is just given the task to write a story, and you give her that liberty to write, they write away. But when you hold them by their hands and say, my budget is XYZ, you're when you do that, you hold the scriptwriter. But like I said, until we get more finance and the proper structure and proper framework between how films are sold, how they are produced, we need to get that locked down. Once we get that locked down, I think we'll be fine.
Thank you. Our Cameroonian princess, Janine Bahi, she's saying hello to you, and
Hello.
and all the other people who are listening. Our guest today, as you can see, he doesn't need an introduction, Mr. Marc Adebesin, multi-award-winning producer, film director, and I think scriptwriter in some cases. He's done a lot of work in the Nollywood industry, and these are the people that are continuing to hold the industry at the high esteem where the industry day right now. Right now, you mentioned something recent a few minutes ago about budgeting and stuff like that. How difficult it is to raise funds to do a typical decent, Nigerian movie, now Nollywood blockbuster. I mean, how difficult it is to raise the money? How do the people them, the actors them, the people in the film industry, especially the people in the back room, how then they raise that money, and how the government they take help them to waiting government fit to like you mentioned about provision of readily available broadband, steady broadband, not just readily available, affordable as well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What think government do to support this industry? Because this industry, they carry Nigeria to the highest level.
Yes, you've asked a very important and critical question, because if you look at Nollywood, it's left Bollywood in the dust, because it's generating more funds, it's employing more people. So the GDP Nigeria is generating from that, I don't know the figures on top of my head, as of the last time I checked on Wikipedia, it's on number 2 right now in terms of GDP. We generate more funds from We generate more funds from oil and gas at the moment. The people who I would say carry out the biggest sacrifices are the executive producers, meaning that they are the individuals who we drop our hard-earned money to produce films. We don't look back when we spend the money. We try to make it as best as we can based on limited funds and resources. Now, to answer your question in terms of how much is it going to cost to produce a good quality cinema film or a Roku film or a YouTube film? Now, that question is very relevant. I could say 10 million. An individual like Kunle Afolayan could wake up and say, Mark, with 1 million, I'll create a film like that. And the reason why I would say that is because Kunle Afolayan can wake up, pick up the phone, call Canon and say, or Sony and say, I need 20 cameras and I need a crew. And they'll say, I'll sponsor it. So that takes out a huge budget from Kunle. He's created that type of buzz in Nollywood to be able to open doors with his name and with what he has produced. So on the other hand, I can't just pick up the phone and call Canon. The first question is, who are you? Is the first question they will ask. So I could end up, having to write a proposal, write a marketing plan. I have to explain myself. I have to, like they say, cajole the investors or the so-called sponsor. So to answer that question, it's best I use the word range. I won't be able to give you a figure because that shirt you are wearing on top now. If I say you're a designer, design that shirt and let me have that top you are wearing. You could say, Mark, I have somebody in Agege that sews this shirt for me. I only pay 10 naira. Me, I have to get a designer in Peckham. I might end up spending 250 pounds just to sew that same shirt. So it's a question that's very difficult to answer, but the average range for an Iroko film, so I've been told, ranges between 3 to 5 million on the average. And those are the figures I think. I wouldn't want to say they are factual.
Is that in naira? Sorry to break it. Is that in naira?
Yeah, that's in naira, sir. Yeah, that's in naira. And then when you shoot that same film, if you make the mistake to come to UK to come and shoot that same film, like they say in Yoruba language, you will chop cane. It will cost you more. You cannot shoot that quality of film here in UK because if you employ an averagely good director of photography and a cameraman, I mean, each of them will charge you minimum £150 a day. So if you are paying that person £150 a day, you can, that same money, by the time you add that in 4 places, you've employed a DOP in Nigeria for 2 weeks in Nigeria. So it has to do with where you shoot, the influences you have, what you can do with the cast and your crew. For example, I could call Egbon Ramsey now and say, come and act for me. You say, Mark, I'm charging you 10 million. Somebody could call the same Ramsey and then you say, oh, I think, this film, based on the story you've written and your past record, it will be a fantastic film. And you will charge the person 9 million. So your influence and what you can do based on your relationships, your track record, it's very important. So answering those questions and saying those figures are locked it's a very dodgy question. But I'll give you some of the figures that have been brandished around online. I've heard Wedding Party cost 43 million to produce, but that same film has made over $500 million, which is about 550 million in Nigerians. And that is not even to, you shouldn't even add the funds that they made when they submitted it to Netflix. Because if Netflix buys it, if Iroko buys it, if Ibaka buys it, they make more money. So it's a chicken and egg situation. But to create an averagely good film in Lagos, you should be looking at 3 to 5 million on the average. And your storyline and your script, which is your blueprint, is very important that you ask yourself a few questions before you write that story, and you can't halfway say, "Oh, because I've spent 10 million on a film, I want to take this film to cinema." It doesn't work like that. Before you go to cinema, you need to ask yourself, who is my target audience? Is it a YouTube channel? Is it a YouTube audience? Is it a Netflix audience? Is it a cinema audience? In Nigeria, the track record right now is rom-com, which is romantic comedy. They go places, and they bring muchas pesetas. They bring a lot of money into the bank. You take a film like Alakada, it's, I think as of last week, I see 127 or 220. I think it's 127 million, and that's a lot of money. And you have to credit Funke Akindele. She's been doing this, for over a decade now. She's making Nigerians smile, and she's smiling to the bank with her husband. So it's a very, very difficult question to answer. It has to do with how you manage your budget, and also if you have your own equipment. Like, for example, I myself, I have some of my own equipment. I've got some my cameras, I've got some lighting, I've got some stands that I use to shoot. So if I shoot, obviously I'll spend more. I'll spend less. I'm supposed to be in Nigeria now shooting a film, but because of this pandemic, I have to ask myself, Mark, is it safe? Because I mean, with the way COVID is spreading, even in Nigeria, I have to be very careful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you, my brother. We think our government should do to support the industry, because you see, especially in this pandemic period, like you just mentioned, the government of this country where we Obodo, they do a lot to support all aspects of the economy, all industries. What in our own government they do right now to support Nollywood, if anything, what did then they do? And if what did then they do, if they know they do anything, and what did they do no reach, what did they feel do hard to make sure, say, our actors and actresses don't starve to death, our Nollywood industry don't hit take a plunge during this our pandemic period. What did they feel do to help?
Well, in the little knowledge I know about the Nigerian government, I think Jonathan's government in Nigeria, Billy Jonathan, has been the only government that I know. I'm not sure about Obasanjo, Buhari, or Bangida. I'm not sure of all those governments, but I know Jonathan's government did invest in Nollywood. They sent a couple of people to America for a film course, and the only reason why I heard that was because, as at the time that decision was made, there was a lot of arguments about, why is it that there are more Igbo people than the Yoruba people that are traveling? We have Hausas in this country too. Why can't Hausas be among you? So that was the only reason why I heard that. He sent people to New York, I think, to learn filmmaking. They went to learn directing, acting, producing. So he spent a lot of money doing his campaign. Those are some of the things that the government can do. Another thing that the government can do is they can do what is called a train the trainer approach, which is they could send 10 people to America, send them to UK, they could send them to anywhere, or India, to go and learn filmmaking. And they could now make those 10 people, train other Nigerians in Nigeria. In a nutshell, it's a process and it's a framework. They can create a film village in Nigeria. They could allow people register for those type of courses online, where they could record those sessions, put it online for people to learn. The other advantage, it boils down to the type of infrastructure we have in Nigeria. We don't have broadband readily available to everybody. If we can at least get a good 90 or even 70% of the population to have broadband readily available at a cheap rate, there's so many resources on YouTube where people can go and learn filmmaking, they can learn acting, they can learn cinematography, they can learn lighting, they can learn a lot. They can learn how to do makeup, how to do special effects. So there's a lot that can be done. So there's a thin layer between what the government can do, what they should do, and what they are not doing at the moment. And if the government could reach out and help an industry that has helped itself, it will go a long way. I remember I went to the Nigerian embassy here in UK about 2 years ago, and I asked the ambassador a question. I said, why is it that the embassy isn't helping the industry? And in a nutshell, the Nigerian government. For example, if I need to shoot a film that has to do with possibly a scene as an office scene or it's an embassy scene, they should be able to actually say, okay, let's give you one room in that corner to shoot the film. And the ambassador's answer to me, I found, a slap in the face. His answer to me was he quoted the figure that we had generated a year before and said, oh, the amount of money we generated in Nollywood, X amount of millions of naira. So that automatically shows that we don't need help from the Nigerian government. I found out with a pinch of salt, and I didn't want to cause a scene, but it shows where the Nigerian government's head is at when they look at a myopic figure and say, oh, because this is making this much, that automatically means you don't need help. That is wrong. Totally unacceptable. I also heard Lai Mohammed, who came on air and said, people like yourself, myself, who do not live in Nigeria should not be creating content for Nollywood or music videos for the new music industry in Nigeria. I'm like, so because we've left a country, we should stop, our creative nature. I mean, it's wrong. He didn't put that into rule. There was no law to that. But I think I noticed a couple of people on Twitter lambasted him, and he backed off. I was quite disappointed in a man like Lai Mohammed saying that. To be honest, to say the very least. So to answer your question directly, there's a whole lot the government can do. I mean, we have a big landmass in Nigeria. I mean, they can cut out 10 acres in Nigeria. It could be in Abuja, it could be in Lagos, it could be in Uyo, it could be in Nasarawa, for all I care, and say, we are going to give, filmmakers these 10 acres, and these are the guidelines for you to come and create a studio here. We will give you the land for a lease of 100 years or 200 years. And I'm very confident companies will come out, they will collect that land, and they will build viable studios on that property. After 100 years, they can either renew that lease or they give up the lease to the land and give it back to the Nigerian government. That the government does not need to spend a dime to make that happen. It's just common sense. We've got the land there. We just need to put checks, balances, policies, terms and conditions to make this thing happen in Nigeria. And I'm still quite amazed of the amount of immense talent that we have in Nigeria, because Nigeria we have a country where the talent there it shocks me because there's a lot of talented people that have left that country, and the talent still coming out of that country on a daily basis. It's still shocking. I mean, you've got people who are in the music industry now who are creating a legacy for themselves. In the music industry, you've got the like of Burna Boy, Wizkid, Davido, Naira Marley. These are people that are leaving a very good blueprint for other artists. I mean, to come on and look at what they have and create something that the audience would love. So there's a lot that the government can do. There's a lot. I mean, majority of these people I've mentioned right now, I can guarantee the government has not done anything to help them. They have helped themselves. They've put themselves on the map to be nominated for Grammy, for the BET award, or even to have won the awards. These are individuals that have done what needs to be done by themselves without looking at the government for any kind of support, just like a lot of private entrepreneurs in Nigeria are doing today.
Terrible, terrible, terrible. that shows you the kind of leadership where we get for that country. Where we say they know they see beyond their nose. There was a time a few years ago I live for South Buckinghamshire, and I live very close to Pinewood Studios. You would know
Wow.
Pinewood Studios very
Yeah,
well.
I do.
And I can tell you what you just what the thing where you just they tell us now, just they remind me of that place where a lot of Bond films were shot and stuff like that.
Yes.
And the money, make we even put the
Harry
film.
Potter as well. Harry Potter was shot
Harry
there as well.
Potter, thank you, my brother. Make we even put the film into one side. The money where then they make from tourism alone. Do you understand? Well, we say if government creates something like this where you talk, and government can enter partnership with the industry, say, okay, oh, we give you this land to do what you want to do. But on the tourism basis, we go to share so and so percent.
Yeah.
You think, say, our tourism industry no go take off? It go take off.
Paid
But
partnership.
when we know they think beyond our nose, and when we they factor all kinds of rubbish things into politics, rather than to do the real thing where they did there to do to govern and help and advise. Look at our youth. You were talking about makeup artists. A lot of young girls out of university, they can do that while they are looking for work. It can provide a completely new lease of life for our youths.
Yeah,
you know,
correct.
Make me carry those government people put for one side, Gary, because anytime where they talk about them, they depress me. Let me go back to my special guest, Gary, Mr. Marc Adebesin. Name some of the big names where I don't work with, and some of the ones where you never work with, where you go like to work with. Not just in the Nigerian industry, universally. Talk about the Nigerian industry first, and then you can now go African and you can go diaspora.
Okay. Some of the great names I've worked with, the likes of Ramsey, Gabriel Afolayan, Femi Branch. I'll take a second or two to talk about Femi Branch, and the reason is because I think he's a phenomenal actor. He is one of the few people that I have worked with, and he always digs deep. He digs really, really deep. He's, for me, I think he's very underrated. Um, there's a lot I wish I could say about him now, but because of time, I'll speak about other people. Frederick Leonard, I would love to work with Frederick Leonard again. He's a phenomenal actor. The likes of Tana Delano, she is another phenomenal actor that I would love to work with again. The likes of Jim Ike is another great actor I've worked with. Another thing I would love the industry to do is to stop stereotyping actors. We do that in Hollywood as well, where you found somebody like Martin Lawrence, who came out as an MC and as a comedian. No, a comedian, then he became an MC on Def Jams. Whenever he does any film now, you find out there are always films that are rom-com. They're always very, very, very funny. So we tend to do that in Nollywood. I would love to see comical characters play serious roles. There are also some actors that I look at as actors that have got a wide range, meaning that they can be serious, they can be unserious, they can be comical. So there's a whole lot that we can still do in that industry to improve the skill sets that we have in that country by providing adequate training. Majority of these actors I've mentioned already, not all of them went to went to study filmmaking or study arts. You have, the likes of Tonto Dike that actually went, and Femi Branch who went to study creative arts in university. But there are some of them that are just born natural actor. They come on set, they deliver, and there are some that would come on set and you find out that the way they deliver, when you give them a certain type of role, they go over and beyond what is required. You've got the likes of Bolanli in Hollywood. There's certain type of roles you give to Bolanli, he would kill you on set. He would finish it. He would nail it. So there's a lot we can still do in that industry to improve the existing skill sets we have. I've worked with some actors or some producers who would say, Mark, we don't have many good actors in Nigeria. And my answer to that question is, okay, you say we don't have very good actors. Is there anything we can do to improve that? The thing we can do is to train these actors to become better in what they deliver to us today. And for us to do that, we need finance, we need government support. It's going to be very difficult for me to live my own life now and say, okay, all the money I've saved in the last 10 years, I want to go and use it to buy land and create a film school to bring upcoming actors here and start training them. It's something that will not cost too much. It's a very huge industry. There's a lot that can still be done. And to answer your question regarding actors I would love to work with in Africa, I think Angela Ikijo is somebody I would love to work with. In terms of on the global, I would love to work with Denzel. He is somebody I admire his work a lot. Speaking from one director to another, Spike Lee, somebody I would love to watch work. I would love to see him.
What a character!
Yes, I would love to see him. Larry Fishburne is somebody I would also love to work with. Yes, if I'm given the opportunity. Will Smith is another actor. I will put in that because he is one of those few actors that has what I call and define as range, meaning that if you give him a comical role, he will deliver it. If you give him a serious role, he will deliver it. If you give him a sinister role, he will deliver it. If you give him a romantic role, he would kill it. So he's got range. And not a lot of our actors in Nollywood have got that range. And sometimes it's not just about sometimes it has to do with how you physically look. Like somebody like Nollywood now, look at how big, if you put him in a film, there's a military film now, he would sit in perfectly like 5 and 6. It will be like a crossword puzzle that I start down in the perfect position. But you tell somebody like Nino to do a comical role, he's done it. But when you see his physique, he doesn't look like, just looking at him for the first time without him altering a word, you look at him and say, this guy is too big. He can't do something funny. He can't do something comical. But he's done something like that. So there are certain types of characters that you just looking at them, they're either too tall or too short to do certain types of roles, or they have this hard-looking face, that you say, oh, because he has a hard face, that means he can't do a comical role. Somebody like Segun Arinze is another person I would love to work with in Nigeria. There's a film I intend to shoot later this year. The second film which I intend to shoot later this year. I would love to work with Segun Arinze on that. He's been penciled down for me to work with, and fingers crossed. I hope that works out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. James Johnson, JJ, you are watching us as usual. Thank you very much for joining us. Right. Now, this is probably going to be our last question. So I would ask you, what will be your advice for our youths, both for the ones who are there for Nigeria and the ones who are there here? Those of them will want to enter the filming industry. What will be your advice for them? Because a lot of them now, then they start from the scratch, no funding, no nothing. Then go look at them, they'll feel they put off, say, I don't get anything, I don't get tools to do this job. What will be your advice for them? For where do they start from, and how do they go up the ladder steps to get to the place where they want to go? That now for our youth. Then secondly, which kind thing make we dey expect from you? You don't tell us some of the things where they pipeline. You don't dey very busy. Had it not been for this pandemic, you for don't flood the market with projects. But waiting be the next step forward for now. Say on Augustine stay with Nollywood or at the look of spreading your tentacles and diversing and digressing into other things. What would they expect next from Marc Adebesin, and also advice for our youth we want enter this same industry, either as actors or as producers, directors, backroom people? What would be your advice for them? Thank you.
All right. To answer the first question is very simple, and I will I'll borrow a leaf from the great Segun Odegbami, our legendary number 10 footballer in Nigeria. Yes, mathematical. Egbon has children who are also in the creative industry, but he said he wants them to, one, be educated. Anything you want to do, you can do, but that education, that should be your plan A. Your plan B could be football, could be singing, could be acting. Because when you do not educate yourself, you're not going to go places the way you ought to go. The Holy Bible says, "My people perish for the lack of knowledge." In wisdom, in education, you will find wisdom. There are certain things you would learn while you are in school. Another beautiful thing is there's hardly anything you want to learn that you cannot learn online now. Like I said, it goes back to making broadband readily available in Nigeria. It will be a fantastic opportunity if the government can actually implement that. Now, for the people who want to enter the industry and think they do not have the right skill sets, or there's nobody that would train them, I think that's a fallacy. And the reason why I say that is because if, for example, you want to become an actor, a director of photography, a director of a film, a producer, go on YouTube, go on Google, type how to become a film director, how to become a producer, how to act. I mean, you can always put a mirror in front of yourself and follow instructions, or grab your script and read your scripts to yourself, and look at how you yourself look in front of that mirror. That mirror is your camera at that point. There's a lot you can learn by just listening to tutorials online. So if you are a musical artist, maybe you are in Afrobeats, or you want to enter the creative industry, no matter what you want to become in life, your education should be your plan A. Or if you want to make education your plan B, or whatever chosen career you pick, you think you're so good that you can't fail, and you pick that as your plan A, make sure you do not drop the bag of education while you are pursuing your dreams. The great ex-German chancellor, the great Otto von Bismarck, he said, and I quote, "In anything you do, make sure you have a full functional plan B." Because when you go to war, because life is a war, you have there's something, things are not served to you on a platter of gold. I mean, Davido is a typical example. His father has money to support him, but if he did not have the talent, he will not get to where he is today. Forget all the money his father has. So a lot of people tend to forget that. There are quite a number of rich people out there that children want to become superstars, but your father might have all the money. If you don't have the talent, you do not have the talent. And it will dawn on you after you've tried to make your talent move the audience and they don't move, you find out that it's about time you drop it. So education is paramount in my world. I have a master's degree in business administration today, and I'm not using that as something I earn a living from, but the knowledge I learned in being able to produce and market my film to the audience I serve, understanding the audience and making sure that when I'm creating a product for an audience, I understand what they want. So there's a lot you will learn in school when you're in school. So I want to believe I've been able to answer your question directly, sir.
Yes, you've done very well, my brother. We don't come to the end of this our interview today. Shaky, 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 shaky. I greet you. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Right now, but before we let on our go, we don't report you, Mark. We don't report you. We don't report you to the gods of Pigeon. Okay, we don't file official complaints to the gods of Pigeon. So okay. They go find you. We go send the fine to you. 2 she goats. You go pay her 2 kegs of palm wine. And what? About 4 cases of and about 4 cases of Nigerian Guinness to appease the gods of Pigeon, because our people don't vex there. They say Pigeon now drama too much. So we go make this part 1 though. When we come back for part 2, I promise you, me and Mark will go work on that. That one will be pure Pigeon throughout. Now we go yarn. It's been a pleasure, my brother Wale Adeniji, just joining in, my good friend. Well done. Thank you for coming. It's been a great pleasure, my brother. We thank you for everything. I mean, the journey today with honor, it did very, very educative, and we would love to have you back. By the grace of God, once this all thing clears out and life start getting back to normal, it would be nice to have you back and to talk to you a little bit more. Thank you very much indeed. You may take your leave now. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great pleasure talking to Mr. Marc Adebesin. Thank you. You may take your leave now, sir. Thank you. Nontando Majodina, thank you very much for joining in, and all of you joining in right now. Did you wake up to be say Tokuba Michael, God bless you. As we do have now, my next guest now Nigerian DJ, but in day base for San Francisco in California. I'm going to talk to him about the industry and all the magical things where DJing they do with this our digital era where we did. I can tell you, this guy is taking DJing to the next level, not just playing. Oh, his setup is so digital, and I don't go believe him. How many of you remember this one? Alujon John Kijon by the Baba himself. Baba 70, Fela and Nicola Pokuti. Right, for me to do this next interview, I have to go off the air. I have to go and call my guy because it's 3 o'clock in the morning in California now. So my guy has agreed to sacrifice his sleep so that he can join us. So I will go call and make sure say he don't get ready, he don't do a makeup, everything. It will take me a few minutes, about 3 to 5 minutes, I will be back. So please don't go anywhere. We're still there here till 12 noon. Please bear with me. God bless you. I will go now and I will come back in the next few minutes.